Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Mike Bird, and as usual, I'm joined by Rob Chismark, and you are watching and listening to The Sticky Side. So, Rob, this is part two of our interview with Frank Modlin. We went so long, and he had so much to talk about. We had so much to talk about. We had to put this into two parts. So, what'd you think about part one?
Man, part one, I feel like we got a lot of information from Frank Modlin. Frank Modlin, the man, Frank Modlin, the player, Frank Modlin, just the grower of the game, the how we always talk about, well, you and I talk about the where they belong in the pantheon of the game, right?
Yeah.
The fame, the hall, where they belong. And we talked about Rocky, and we said kind of Mount Rushmore. And then what you'll hear a little bit in part two is I kind of pulled Rocky off of Mount Rushmore and put him as one of the pillars of the game, because Rocky was he had so many roles, and he grew this game and he held it up. A pillar is something that just stands there and holds this game up forever and ever. And that's
Mhm.
where I put Rocky. But Frank is like we talked about the player, and we talked about the game and the growth, and he's in part two we talk about him, his creator. So Frank, his well-roundedness and his parts of this game really is kind of what makes you on that Mount Rushmore, on that Rushmore of the game, because Frank with the game changer, Frank with just the nice guy of the game. I mean, Frank, you know, he has a nickname, and it's truly a nickname that fits him, and that's what the Mount Rushmore, the presidents up there, they all had.
Yeah.
He really is a guy that belongs up there. So that's that. I mean, that's what I thought about the part one was Frank solidified his place in my mind where he belongs in the pantheon of this game.
Yeah. So each sport, football, baseball, basketball, all the big ones, they got their Mount Rushmores, and there's great debate. There's coaching debate. Who's the best college basketball coach? Mount Rushmore. So I've given this a lot of thought. The Mount Rushmore of cornhole. Who are the
I think,
four? Who are the four
and that's what
people?
I
So,
right, and I
I,
think the sticky side ought to create that. That's what we
well,
we need that.
yeah. I can come up with three. I can come up
Yeah,
with three solid players or and people, but I cannot come up with that fourth person, because I think that fourth person it's like a lot of people that are pillars of the game, like you said. You know, the game wouldn't be the same without these people that ran tournaments in their areas, or these players that won a certain amount of tournaments. But like my three are Frank Gears, definitely got to be on the Mount Rushmore cornhole. Stacy Moore has to be up there too, and Matt Guy. I I cannot come up with a fourth. I'm struggling. I want to put Frank and Rocky, but I also want to put Chad Jacobson up there too, because of what he has created in Texas. Texas is like a little country, man, and he runs an organization that's probably the equivalent of ACO. Maybe not ACL, but at least equivalent of ACO as far as like the formats of the tournaments, pros, and the different divisions he has, the regions in Texas. It's big, man. It's real big. So I would have to put Chad Jacobson up there also.
I think maybe you might, in my opinion, with Jacobson, he's so regional. I know that you know of him, and you know
Yeah.
that I know of him, and there are many people that know who he is and what he's created and what he does. But he's such a regional person that stays in that Texas Oklahoma area. I
Mm-hmm.
know he has dreams of making the TCL something that goes all over the nation, but currently being stuck in that region or staying in that region,
Mm-hmm.
choosing to stay in that region, kind of leaves him kind of like on the maybe second tier Mount Rushmore. Not
Yeah.
necessarily a pillar, but like second tier Mount Rushmore. So I think you're still kind of stuck at three. Um,
Well, then,
If Frank doesn't make it, you know what I mean?
well, I do have. I think Ryan LaBelle should probably be considered for Mount Rushmore just because he was like one of the original tournament directors that he ran the best tournaments. You know, and
Right. In his region, he was unbelievable with everything that he did. And then when they brought him on to staff, all of a sudden things got smooth. Wasn't that crazy how smooth things got when LaBelle showed up?
Bro, he was. I don't know too many tournament directors now, but LaBelle has got it down to a science, man. He's been doing it for so long, you know.
And what I really liked about LaBelle was when his voice was on the microphone, it was just one of them voices. You know, there's so many different voices, and his voice belongs on a microphone. So I did like to hear him call out games.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I'm struggling with my list, man. I've got 3 solids. I don't know if the 4th person needs to be a director or a player. I mean, there's a lot of candidates, but I don't know.
And maybe that's what we do, Mike. We do sit down. We do have this thing where maybe we do figure out a player, director, league, like those two guys belong there. They better be on either end, though. We don't want them too close to one another because even their statues might not like each other. So let's put them on either end, right? We'll put Frank over here and Stacy over here.
Yeah, we'll put them on the ends.
I don't know how Matt doesn't go in there. Matt does belong in there. And then we got to find
definitely
a world renowned director that would just that can just do just like you said, he can do everything, do it all as a director. LaBelle might be that guy, just like you said. LaBelle may be that guy.
Well, we'll work on that, man, and we'll have a show. And people are scared to answer that question, though, because I've actually sent it to a couple of people, and I posted on the Sticky Sides Facebook page. Nobody will touch it. I don't know if people are scared of hurting feelings or people are scared to put certain people's names down. I don't know, but
when you give them only 4 spots, dude, that makes it hard. Because Mount Rushmore only has 4. It only has 4 busts, and when you only get 4, it's tough to make that decision because you're right. If you send that to a 100% ACO guy, he's not going to want to include Stacy Moore.
Yeah.
Right? He's just not going to want to do it. And maybe they're sour at Matt Guy and they're not going to want to include him either, just because that he's not there anymore. So I get it. And you do have friends from all over the organizations and all over.
Mm-hmm.
I would challenge you to send that to LaBelle and see what he has to say, because I feel like even though he knows which side of the bread that the butter is, I still think he can be unbiased enough to make the right call for that. Maybe especially if we categorize it the way we talked about. Great player. Those 2 are a given. You can't take them off. You can't take Frank. You can't take Stacy. You can't take them off. So the other 2 is really all you got to talk about. I don't know if LaBelle will put himself on there. I don't know, but
I don't know, man.
He is a little deserving.
Yeah, you can't take Frank Gears off. You can't take Stacy Moore off just for what they have done. Like Frank Gears pretty much brought this game from the backyard to an organized governing body of cornhole. Stacy Moore then took it 10 steps further and put it on a national stage, and now it's the equivalent of like pro sports such as like bowling. If not the equivalent of it, it's going to be there pretty soon.
He also did something different than what Frank did as a creator. He single-handedly created the entire bag industry. There was a bag industry before, but Stacy Moore single-handedly created a bag industry where there are over 50 approved bag makers for a pro league. So, and everybody's going out, and this industry is unbelievable right now. It's hot. So Stacy Moore did that. So that's another reason that he belongs there, it just changed the game.
And then, in my opinion, it's not even a debate with Matt Guy, just because he has been the greatest for so long. Championships, one after another, doubles championships, singles championships. I don't care what organization it was in. Back in the day when he was winning all his King of Cornhole championships, he was beating the people that are in the ACL right now. You know,
well, little known
a
fact
handful
is
of them.
I believe that he is actually the winningest player of nationals in the ACL now, even though he was just a rookie coming in, and he wasn't real successful in his singles runs this year. But before this, he had won more nationals singles in the ACL than anybody else. So he was the winningest player there as well, which is crazy because the 9 championships, and then he's got a bunch of national championships over here too. So
there you go.
It's just yeah,
some food for thought.
He belongs there.
We got to figure out who that fourth person is, man.
And listen, this episode, this part 2. If you listen and watch it, you're going to start seeing how much Frank contributed to, or does contributes to this game, and what he brings to this game, and what he's done, overall in his career. Just unbelievable that he goes through the hip surgery like we talked about, and then he's still in the finals in singles of the pro shootout. So I mean, Frank is definitely someone that we could look at, but unless we want to put that director, we want to put some caveats on director. We did talk to Frank in part 2. I don't think he's ever directed anything. So, but he does have a lot of respect for directors, and I do believe that directors, they deserve a lot of respect. You know what it was like carrying that equipment around, setting that equipment up, and always hearing the first question:
"What's the payout?
What's the payout?
Hey, when do I play next?" Oh,
yeah, that's the second question.
Yeah.
Can you look at that and tell me when I play next? Yeah, you'll hear your name.
I started putting.
I love it now. You can get texted.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, it's changed so much. I remember when you just had to use Acl Open, and you could take Acl Open to the TV, put the bracket up there. But anyway, look, man. Let's go ahead and give the people what they want. Let's give them part 2. Here's Frank Modlin. I believe in this episode he's going to talk about the infancy, the birth of Game Changers, the how it was designed, the idea behind it. Hey, this is good stuff right here. Y'all check it out. Here's Frank Modlin, part 2. I can imagine. I don't have that feeling. I've never been there before. Maybe one day. I have been sitting at the local sports bar watching cornhole and seen Frank Modlin up there, and talked to my buddy next to me like, "Yep, he beat me 21-0 a few years ago."
My goodness. Lord.
No, you got me last year actually. You and Tyler both. I got the venom from both of you at that regional in Fuquay Arena. Y'all both beat me. I scored a point on Tyler, I think. You got me 21-0. Yeah, I know you forgot about it.
Another battle we had though. I can remember a battle, and I don't know. I can't tell you what state we were in, but I remember playing you a long time back, and we had a crazy game. But it went. I want to say it went right down to the wire, and I really can't even tell you how it turned out. But we were playing on the very end set of boards wherever we were at, but I can remember it.
Yeah, I think I had one good game against you. I don't remember where it was at. Maybe it was in Texas. Did we play each other when we went on that Ryder Cup thing?
It could have been.
That was a fun trip. I don't know.
Yeah. A lot of good players out there in Texas, that's for sure.
Yeah, we've got one coming on our next podcast. We've got Eddie Grindersleeve coming on.
That's my buddy right there.
Yeah, he's he was back when we went and did that event in Texas. He was their guy.
He was the guy.
The guy, yes. You did not want to play Eddie.
They had really great players out there, but Eddie, I think at that time was their elite for sure. Mm-hmm. And it showed. I think the one time that I did play with those guys, we were fortunate to make it to the championship game, and who were we playing? Of course, Eddie.
Yeah. He is a beast, man.
But if you look at any game changer across the entire world, you'll look at that and it'll say game changer. And down there in little small fine print, it says by Modlin. So, Frank, I want you to tell us how Brenda came up with the idea and she decided to make this bag, especially for you.
Wait a second.
Not really, Frank. I kind of want to hear the inspiration. Go ahead. I'm
shocked
sorry.
right now. So Brenda is the mind behind this?
No.
Oh. Rewind. Okay, carry
that
on.
was my joke. Man, that was my joke.
But behind every good man is a smart woman, though, right? I mean,
yes, sir.
But no, very true.
Another backstory, though, before you go, I know that you and me we've had countless conversations that we can't always talk about everywhere, but we've talked on the phone about bag making, about bag construction, about bag pricing, about all the kind of stuff that you needed to know, stuff that maybe not everybody was willing to tell you, but hopefully I helped you as much as what I knew anyway. So, but when you came up with this idea, and it, without a doubt, it took the world by storm. I want to ask you how it happened. I also want to know, why did you continue to include Suede? Those are the two big questions. How and why Suede still?
Well, honestly, when I first signed on with Acl Cornhole, the best products company out there, we had to throw that in.
Shameless plug.
Chad Littlewood, Miss Emily Littlewood, they're just top-notch people, man. But when we first signed on with Acl Cornhole, we were throwing the slide rights primarily, and even at the very early phases, we threw what was called the Perfect Series a little bit, and at that time, some of the other bag manufacturers were starting to evolve towards a little bit more of a hole-friendly bag. And with the full Suede sides, we were finding that we were leaving too many bags on the hole, that we were having to go up after, meaning go airmail after, or we would just leave it up and have to give up to. And we were just seeing that time and time again. And it was, costing us matches and costing us tournaments. And it kind of got, that's really what got my mind turning, and thinking, what exactly causes the bag to fall in the hole, or what keeps it from falling in the hole, rather. And you really, if you think about it, you break it down to even, the science of it. We're trying to put a square object into a round hole. Well, if you're trying to put a square object into a round hole, what's keeping the bag from falling in the hole most of the time?
Stiff corners.
It's the corners, right?
Yeah.
So, and, even more so with those corners, what is the resistance factor? And the resistance factor was the Suede, at that time. So that's kind of the premise. And I started toying with the idea, well, what if we pulled that Suede off of the corners? And, that's kind of how it started. And I started testing different, cutout patterns and, whatever. And man, I honestly, it didn't take long at all to figure out that we were onto something there, that if you pulled that resistance away and you made that fabric more hole friendly on the fringes, then no matter what position the bag was, it was going to make that bag more hole friendly. Meaning, if you were coming in from the front, if you were coming in from the side, or even some shots now with the really slick situations, even coming back from the top side. But that was the beginning thought process. But then we got really lucky because there was so much more that came out of it that I didn't realize in the beginning. But honestly, the way a game changer works with those flanges, they really work almost like an elbow. And I think Trey Ryder has said, it they extend the hole to play like almost like a 9-inch hole or 9 point something inch hole versus a 6-inch hole. And where that comes from is those flanges, because if you don't hit a direct on shot, if you hit a shot and you miss it a couple inches to the left or a couple inches to the right, as long as that flange comes into contact with that hole, then that flange, once it leaves a flat surface, and it's not in contact with a flat surface. If this is the board, once any part of that bag meets the hole, it's dropping. So when it drops, there's that kind of creates your elbow, and that creates that rounding effect that you see a lot of bags do once it grabs the hole. And that's where you extend that hole from that 6 inches to the 9 inches, and it does help. It helps me tremendously, because I know in situations that I can play with the left side or right side of a hole more often than I can if I've just got to shoot straight shots. So, getting around those blocks and, certain situations, then somebody like Damon Dennis that's crazy good at it, they don't have to go with the airmail or even the roll shot now as much, because we can use the corners. We can use the backsides and slide around those blocks. So that's kind of, I know that's probably a lot of words, but that's kind of how it came about. But we were lucky, and I could blabber on all night about it. But there's a lot of different advantages that we really stumbled on out of just the beginning, premise.
I want to let me touch on something, Frank, right quick, because I'm glad you brought it up, because I'm glad you explained it. I call it the backdoor effect. It's when the bag catches the hole and spins around. It actually looks really cool too when it happens. So I'm glad that you explained it, because you didn't see that with the old bags back from the day.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
they were just stuck in the backyard.
Yeah.
Well, you have to think that no matter what the material, if it's a fabric, and back then if you're talking about a suede, it's even more coarse of a fabric. But if you've got a bag, and if you're pretending this is your bag, even if you come into contact with a hole, if it stays flat, like if it keeps its shape, then a lot of times it'll skip the hole. So that's where the flange, the more forgiving fabric on the corners, it really just plays a big factor. It allows for that drop and grab, and that's what I call it, the drop and grab. And it really, that is honestly why the bag performs like it does. It extends those, they act like wings, and they just, they grab the hole as they go by. And I think honestly, this is another part that we weren't thinking this in the beginning, but it actually came to be. Where this bag helps them, or where you can see the most improvements, is with beginning players. Beginning players pick up game changers, and honestly, it's simple, because of that hole stretch. They're not able to hit that direct target as often as somebody that, like Rob or Mike or or myself, that have thrown a gazillion bags. So they're missing more often. But with the game changer, even those misses become makes.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, players, we used to have a lot of players that would come to blind draws, and Rob's seen this, and Michael, you've seen this too. We would have a lot of players that would come and get discouraged right away because they were getting smoked by the players, and they wouldn't return. Well, with the game changers, players were seeing success earlier, and they were like, "Hey, I can do this," and they did return. And at the upper levels, the elite players, you can see differences in play with them as well. They just have more skills that they can improve upon, meaning they can hit more specific shots. The airmail percentage with the flange, it increases the airmail drop because when you hit the hole, you don't have to hit the direct center part of the hole. And there's a lot of bags that are like that, not just game changers, but with the more hole friendly bags, with the older style bags, if you would have to hit a perfect airmail. But now you've got players going for back lefts, back rights, front left, front rights, centers. All of these are now airmail shots, not just try to hit the 6-inch hole. And the reason they're able to do that is because of the more forgiving, style of play.
So instead of why Suede, are you, because Suede was the sticky material. So that's probably why Suede. But as Suede is pretty much now phased out of the game, like the Game Changer is probably the only brand, the only model that holds Suede in this game. So do you regret that at all? Are you looking to do a Game Changer mod 3.9 where maybe that's a piece of carpet, or maybe that's a piece of, because if you are, I can show you some prototypes. But I'm just asking to, maybe even what I'm saying? A less sticky material that isn't Suede, because even still, a brand new Game Changer will tend to hang up on that Suede a little bit on that hole. Sure, it's a lot easier to push in, drag in, grab with an airmail, but it still will, because of that Suede, sometimes hang up on the rim of that hole. So do you regret it being Suede at all? Or did you just not see that change coming so drastically so quickly?
Oh no, like you say, prototypes. We're we're very fortunate, and again, I give all the credit to Chad Littlewood for for inspiring me to seek after the patent, and we were very fortunate that it gives us such a wide range of things that we can explore. Now with the game evolving into in different directions, that it might be a fabric on fabric being the patch, meaning if you've got a number 6 speed or a 5 speed fabric with a number 8 speed fabric, rather than having the Suede and an 8 or a 9. So it allows us the opportunity to be able to do a lot of different things and explore. And eventually there will be different versions of the Game Changers. The first one was just so successful and still continues to be. It's been phenomenal. I want to thank everybody for that too. That's without you guys, it wouldn't be possible. But we continue to explore different versions of the patch, and you'll in the years to come, you'll probably see multiple versions of Game Changers for sure. The 3.9.
I just got a brand new set last week. So,
did you?
And I was throwing with them yesterday, man. I got some red and white classics. So I'm gonna just tell you, I bought some Game Changers a few weeks back, and I wasn't watching when I was buying, and I bought the Steadies. And my buddy was like, "Man, you got the wrong one." So I went and bought the classics, and man.
Now the Steady 2.0s, they're a really good bag, especially when they get broken down. The Steadies were just maybe a tad too thick for most players' preferences when they first came out, but the Steady 2.0 is a much better bag. And like I say, there'll be different versions of it in the near future.
And did you have did they consult you on the design of the Steadies, and which that's it, right? It's the Steady and the Game Changer, right? Those are the two with the patches. And
Yeah.
did they consult you on the design of both of them? Or did they consult you on the design of the
I work back and forth daily with Chad, and we do a lot of testing, a lot of prototypes, a lot of material testing. Matter of fact, I'm getting ready to fly out here within the next week or so, and we're going to be doing some more testing. But yeah, not as much with the Steadies, but still some input for sure.
So, do you think Game Changers is one of the first bags that kind of gave birth to all these other bags that play the same way as a Game Changer? All this happened when I was retired, okay? All these new brands of bags came out, but it seems like a lot of them now are a lot more hole-friendly, like the Game Changers. Like you said yourself, younger players, they don't have to be as accurate. They can be off a little to the left, a little to the right, and it'll catch that flange and go in, Do you think Game Changers are responsible for this new generation of bags that kind of took over in 2016, 17, 18? It was 18, right, is when Game Changer came around?
Yep. Yeah. Now, I don't know if they're completely responsible for it. I would like to think that we played a big part of it, at least, but definitely can't take full credit for it. There were a lot of good bags out there when Game Changers came about, and there still remains, a lot of good bags. I think that Game Changers have impacted the sport quite a bit, and we're very fortunate for that. And the sport has evolved to a lot more hole-friendly bags than what we used to all play with. But I don't think that we can take full credit for all of that. I think that there's been a lot of good bags out. But I think that, well, I'd like to think that we definitely had a part, we played a part in that evolution.
I do feel like the Game Changer has stood the test of time. It is definitely still the bag that a guy in 2018, it came out in 2021, they're still buying it. They're not buying the perfect anymore. They're not really buying the slide rate. Maybe the backyard player who first starts is still buying a slide rate, but that's not where they're gravitating to. Jeff is another guy who his bag has stood the test of time. That carpet that he brought out back in 2016 is something that has stood the test of time. It's still on some of his bags as his sticky side. So to see those type of things happen, standing the test of time to me is even more important than whether you created it or not. Mm-hmm. The fact that you can just continue to get your royalties that you deserve for the creation of it is amazing to me. I mean, Mike just telling that story about buying Game Changers here late in 2021 says that bag's going to be around for a while. And it's congratulations to you for the creation and the thought and the foresight to see that this thing was going to be something, and the fact that it has and it stays that way is awesome.
Oh, I appreciate that, man, a lot. I do. Part of the reason is, we're, even with all of the new bags that are coming out, we're still performing at such a high rate. We're Game Changers have had a tremendous amount of success at all of the big events. You still see them making the final stages of big monster tournaments. Here in the Worlds, last year we absolutely killed it. With probably 60, 70, maybe 80% of the tournaments towards the end, we were there. And this season, pretty much, it was pretty close to it. We had a lot of Game Changers making it to championships. So that is not just the bag, that's the players that's throwing them. We've had some super names, that have thrown our bags that have made them more successful for sure. Because, without them doing that, then the bags wouldn't have been as successful. But Yeah, the bags still perform, even with all of the new brands that have come about. You put the game changers up against any of them, and just depending on the style of the player, they can perform with any bag out there.
Do you, who do you have representing game changers besides yourself? Like Fire Cornhole has Jamie, Matt, Brett, Eric, and Kaylee. Do you have a team like that? An all star
Oh,
team?
yeah. Yeah, we look. You don't have to say but one player. That's Mr. Damon Dennis.
Oh.
No, we've got a lot of great players that throw them for sure. Austin Slowbomb and myself will be throwing them this season. But yeah, that last year, Jimmy McGuffin and Greg Geary, a lot of great players. I hate to start name dropping or I'll be done forgot somebody, but that's just a few of the ones that are out there. And I mean, just like this year, with James Baldwin and Jordan Kamba, they were still throwing game changers and performing at a higher level of success for sure. And here they are at the end of the season. They win a world double title. I believe they threw all sides in the championship, though I'm not sure, but
Yeah, I think it got a little sticky.
yeah, I think they threw all sides in the championship. But yeah, we've been very fortunate. We've had a ton of great players throw them throughout the years. Some of those directions are being changed now because you do have a lot of other bags out there that people are trying to promote. So they're different players for sponsorship purposes. They may make changes from here to there, but somehow or another, game changers are still finding their way to the top. Man, it's been a really cool experience.
I was at a Brooks and Dunn concert a couple of days ago, and we're out tailgating and throwing cornhole, and people were walking in and they saw the bags on the board, and it was the game changer Steadies, and the guy he walked by, I heard him. He was like, "Oh, he's got game changers. He must know how to play."
That's cool, man. That's awesome. Very very fortunate. The bag was named perfectly. And Chad was again. He was very instrumental in naming the bag. But just I think we hit the sport at the right time. We were very fortunate timing wise. When I think the sport was beginning to evolve away from some of the tackier bags, and we come in right at the right time. And with the name Game Changer, it just has stuck, and it's a very memorable brand. Just with the name, and then to have a bag that can back it up, with the performance, makes it even better.
Yeah, it definitely, like you were saying earlier, it definitely does change people's game. People that are throwing fours and fives, they buy some game changers, get it broke in, all of a sudden they're throwing sevens and eights. And that doesn't sound like a lot. But when you're talking about a beginning player, their confidence goes up. Their just their whole demeanor about the game becomes something different when you're, from fours and fives to seven and eights, all of a sudden it's just now you feel like you can compete. And it's definitely the bag. It's definitely the bag that makes that, it extends that hole like you were talking about. So it's just cool. It's just a cool thing. And it's pretty cool that you're a part of it and can talk about it the way we can. So thank you very much.
Oh, I appreciate it. And, and the game changer technology goes further than just a patch, and there's been quite a bit of, debate about that also. So, with other technologies, with the dot technology and all of that, it allows us to be able to do a lot of different things. And we've never wanted to limit other companies from being able to be able to use that technology, I guess is the best way to describe it. It was our hopes, and since the beginning, that we would be able to share this technology with other companies. And that's what's taking place now. We're able to share some of this technology with other bag producers and, through licensing and those sorts of things, where we can not only provide bags ourselves, because you've got so many people out there that have great ideas and, they might have good products with different bag fabrics, combinations that might, be the next big thing. So for us to be able to, kind of share some of that, with some of the other companies, it's all good for the sport.
It's crazy to just hear you talk about like other companies, because back 5 years ago it was only a couple, and everybody was making their own boards. Everybody was sewing their bags with needles and strings, and now it's like factory made boards, factory made bags. The game has just like taken this completely different turn for the best, and seeing where cornhole is going, well, where it's at and where it's going, it's kind of exciting, man. Kind of exciting.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, but it's part of the process. We've I say we, the ACL has absolutely, taken this sport from a backyard sport and turned it into a professional sport. And, with this evolving process, you have the equipment changes that are going to happen there. The equipment's going to improve just like in any other sport. Mm-hmm. Your golfers were using, wood clubs at one time, right? Yeah. And now they've got all sorts of, all sorts of titaniums, and you can't begin to name all the different types of materials that they use. And our sport's no different. It's going to evolve. It's going to go through different phases where, the equipment's going to get better. Who knows what we might be throwing 20 years from now? Even we may not be throwing on wood boards anymore. You just don't ever know.
But another thing is bag collecting is a thing now. So what's the most expensive you've ever heard 4 bags going for, Frank?
Oh my goodness. I've heard 12 and 1,300 for a set of 4. And but it's evolving. Just like with other sports, you have items that people treasure. Mm-hmm. Whether it be baseball cards or basketball cards, or now cornhole player cards, or bags.
Bags a little harder to display, I would think, than the cards.
Well, these guys now have the shadow boxes and stuff that they hang up. It makes for it's so cool. And they'll put them up, and it's, for me, it's just so crazy. I just don't feel like that I deserve that, for somebody to, want to have something of yours that, that much, but it's so awesome. I appreciate it so much. And all the players do. Yeah. Again, we're just fortunate enough to be able to, do this at a level that people appreciate it. So it's really cool that people do have that appreciation for us, and give us that acknowledgement.
Well, it was a set of game changers, original white ones that went for $500. And when I heard that, I was like, what in the world is going on? Not because it was game changer, because it was any cornhole bag. Mm-hmm. I never would have thought that a set of 4 bags would go for $500. So.
Oh yeah. Crazy.
I mean,
crazy.
To this day, there's bags right now on the internet that are going for $750, But to me, if I had a set of those bags, I would sell it as fast as I could, because it's just give me the money. I'd rather have the money. Because there's not a bag in this world, unless it was something like, I have keepsake bags where I've had people sign them because they threw them somewhere or they've retired them. So those are keepsake bags, but I've never put them for sale. So there's no value on them except for the price value. But if I had a set of bags that I was throwing and somebody said those are worth 750, here, let me get 7 for them, because I don't really feel like it's 750, because next week those bags might only be worth back to what their retail price is.
It sounds like we're talking about the stock market. I mean,
yeah, it's crazy to me.
It sounds like all cornhole needs to get on E-Trade, man.
There you go.
Yeah, y'all need to go public.
It's just, people value different things different ways. Us as players probably don't see it the same as a collector. A collector sees it as, something that they really, really treasure. And it's just awesome for somebody to, it's awesome for me, for somebody to want that, for them to want something that we've either thrown or signed or, or whatever, or created, or, it is just super humbling to have people out there that appreciate you that much.
Yeah. Well, in less than 10 years, you've gone from a school teacher that learned how to play in the gymnasium and played local tournaments, with all the local guys, to a national name with his own cornhole brand. You got world doubles champion under your belt. What other kind of stuff you got going on? You've got, I had your website up here. You can go to Frank Modlin, aclpro.com. You got your own little website. You got things going on, Frank.
I appreciate
That's pretty big for Frank right there. A website that Frank Modlin has? Come on. Now, who'd have thought that, Frank? your own website. That's awesome.
Right. Speaking of which, me and Rob just dropped the StickySidePodcast.com and .net. Frank, this is our longest one yet, man. And I got a feeling we could do another hour.
I believe so, man.
I feel like Joe Rogan.
I enjoy talking. That's awesome.
No, that's the thing. When you get with somebody who is well-rounded in the game, not just a player, but a creator like what Frank is, I mean, it's endless. You know what I mean? And like I said, it's just the stories. And I know that Frank, he's not just a creator in the bag world, in the equipment world, but Frank loves the growth of the game. So the Luke Johnson story is one of the ones that Frank loves, the growth of the game.
What was the one match where you won or you performed in it and you said, I've turned the corner?
Man, I don't know if I would know what that would be.
Kind of like I asked Jamie that, and because Jamie, he went in a year from being the guy that you could beat to being the guy that you couldn't beat. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
Did you ever have that point? Like, when was it? Your first big tournament win or something like that?
I can remember the first, and I didn't know who he was, and the different people pronounce his name differently. I don't know if I'm gonna pronounce it right, but Greg Vajda. Some people say Vajda, Greg Vajda.
Yeah.
I played Greg in an event in Virginia Beach years and years ago now, but it wasn't about I think it was my second year really playing competitively. And I had to play Greg in an event, and I noticed that a lot of people were gathering around the further the game went, so I kind of, something was, telling me that, that there was something to this match. And I was fortunate and, I won the match. And after that, someone said, do you know you just beat a pro? And that kind of stands out a little bit, that might have been something that clicked. Hey, you could actually do this.
That's a pretty cool story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Greg's still a great player today. He was just out in California a few weeks ago, still throwing with the best of them. I mean, I think if he was still, playing on a full-time basis, he could be right there at the top.
Yeah, I was out there too and seen him play, and I know Rob was calling the match that I watched. They played the Gore twins, didn't they? It was Greg and Elvis Orr, and
Yep.
they got humbled real quick. But them little boys, they humble a lot of people.
Yeah, there's some good little guys, man, for sure, with a lot of talent, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with this coming up season. They're going to be playing in from what's it called, Rob, with the
PDC.
The PDC.
Pro Development Club. Is that what it is? Pro Development Club?
I think that's right. But I think that's going to be an awesome piece to the ACL because it does expand. It does allow for players that can compete, on any given day. And those guys right there, Jake and Jack, I mean, they could beat anybody on any given day, and pro or not. They are really talented young men, and I think that's going to be a good way for a lot of teams like them to be able to come in and prove that they can show that they can compete at that level. So I think that they will make a lot of noise this season, along with quite a few others that are coming in from that PDC. I just think that it's going to provide some opportunities there, even more opportunities for teams that otherwise might not be there.
So just because you're not in the PDC, let's say you're an advanced player, that also, just because you're an advanced player and you're not in the PDC, that doesn't limit you from playing with the pros in the opens, right?
No,
it does not.
Right, that's right. So anyone can play in the open events, and that's a cool thing because it allows players to kind of check their level, and just see how they stand up against some of these top players. They get to see them on TV and see them on live digital networks and things, and they really want to see, hey, do I have what it takes? And for some of us, and using myself for example, it might be a reality check. It might say, hey, I've got some work I need to do. But some of them, it might be that, hey, I need to go try out that pro qualifier next season. So it's really it's a good test, for a lot of players, and it's a good opportunity. A lot of players would just want to get on the boards with some of these guys that they see on TV or see on the live digital networks and things.
Awesome. Well, you know what, Frank? Hopefully I'll get to see you out there at some tournaments, man. I was looking at the Acl Open schedule. I might make a couple. Got a ACL regional coming up here in a couple of weeks. Caleb Avery, I'll be playing in his.
So where's he going his at? What town?
I believe he is doing it in Roanoke Rapids.
Okay.
So not too far, about an hour drive for me. So that's one thing about you too. You would drive everywhere. You would drive everywhere to play cornhole, man. You were always on the road.
Yeah. Well, I've had a lot of people ask about that throughout the years. And I try to encourage new players to do this as well. Seek out the competition. Don't run from it. Don't get complacent. Don't play in at a place that you're beating up on everybody every week. I honestly enjoyed going and playing new players all the time, and finding the best players out there possible. And if you truly want to get better at the sport, then you're going to do that. You're going to seek out that competition. And the ACL provides, that opportunity with all the regionals throughout the country.
You can see that how much this game is actually growing, because now you could go to a regional anywhere in my state. I can go to a regional, and most of the time there's at least a pro player there, but the caliber of play has just risen so high these days. Anywhere, like before, back in the day, 2 years ago, you could probably go to a regional where there was only 12 players or so that were going to play in advance, and you knew you were going to finish pretty well. You'd be up in that top 3, you'd get a podium. But these days, it's not like that, man. It's unbelievable what the growth of this game has done. And even in the small states that don't have tons of players, the Mississippis and the Alabamas, you're still walking up, and all of a sudden you're running into Blaine Rozier, who's now an ACL pro, and he goes to Auburn, so he'll be at one of the Alabama regionals. So it's crazy. Doesn't matter what state you're in, you just have an opportunity to play the highest caliber of players at an ACL regional anytime you go.
There's so much truth to that. Used to, honestly, if you were in the know, if you knew the game pretty well, Rob could have done this for sure. Go to a tournament, say a decent sized tournament. You could pick out a handful of players, and within that handful, you were going to have a winner. It's so hard to do that now because the talent level has spread out so much. And these new players, honestly, the younger players that are putting so much time into it, you go to step up beside a player now that you don't know, that doesn't mean anything anymore. I mean, you can't take anybody for granted anymore. There's just so much talent out there, and it's only going to get better. The more popular this sport becomes, the more fans that we have, driving us, pushing us, it's only going to get better. And for me, it's super exciting because, like Rob and myself and Michael, you've been involved with cornhole for a long time. It's really cool to see it go from where it was to where it's at now, and see, we were at a high school down in Florida when we went down, for the tournament down there.
Trey Osford, love that guy.
Oh my goodness, Trey and them him and his staff are awesome. And I hope I get this name right. Columbia High School, right?
Yes, sir. That's it. Columbia Lake City. Yes, sir. Yep.
They've got such a great thing going there, and a lot of times within schools, we'll start something and it'll kind of phase in, phase out type thing. They've been doing this for years now, several years, and the kids are so enthusiastic about it. We went down while we were there in Florida for the shootout championships, and myself and Matt Guy and Brett Guy, and I hope I don't leave anybody out, I think we're the 3 that went and visited the high school, and unreal how the staff and the students treated us. Just unbelievable how much some of the younger crowd appreciate the skills, that some of the players can show, display in cornhole now.
So what's going on at this high school? What are they doing there?
So on Fridays, they set up like 6 sets of boards right in the main lobby of the high school, like the main entrance of the high school. So when the players come in, they a lot of these high school students are playing cornhole. So anybody can play. Anybody at that school can play, including staff. So you've got students that are showing up an hour or so early to school just to be able to play cornhole, and not wanting to put the boards up when the bell rings. But they do that very well, though. I will have to say, like when that bell rang, the first bell, Trey said, "Oh, they'll know what to do with them." Because I was asking him, "He wants to help grab?" He said, "No, they'll know what to do." And honestly, the kids had the boards put up in no time. It's just so cool to watch that, but to see how much appreciation they had for the sport, it's awesome. It gives me kind of goosebumps, thinking about it, because we've for the longest time, we've all thought about the traditional sports, football, baseball, basketball, all of these other sports that we've watched for years, and we've all appreciated the skills of those pros. But for young kids to think outside of the box a little bit and think about the amount of skills that are displayed in the game of cornhole is so cool. It's really, really cool to see that they can appreciate that. and get excited about it and want to do it themselves.
For Chick-fil-A biscuits.
Right? Yeah. He sells biscuits on Fridays too, right?
Sign me up for that. I love Chick-fil-A.
They do it. Come on down. We'll go over there on a Friday. It's not but about an hour away. And Trey is a great dude. He's the principal there. He wants to be a pro, but he's busy, And Trey's a really good dude. So anytime you want to come down to Florida on a Friday, we'll go do it.
Oh, you would have a blast.
Well, I mean, I think I am going to make a trip to Florida here this year. So
I even got me a CHS hat from the football coach there.
That's awesome.
That makes me. I want to ask you about USA Cornhole, Frank. So, what is USA Cornhole about? Who started that? Is that associated with the ACL at all, or is it its own entity? And you were actually your own team USA, right?
Yes, I was fortunate enough to make the first USA. We call it the Olympic team, with hopes of cornhole being in the Olympics. Hope sooner than later.
Yeah.
But I honestly don't know all of the ins and outs about how that has come about. It's definitely supported by the ACL. But I don't know, Rob, you might know that more so than me. I don't know if it's its own separate entity or if I know they intermingle for sure, or they link together somehow.
There's a few board members on USA Cornhole that are ACL affiliated. I believe Stacy's on the board and Trey's on the board of the USA Cornhole. They're kind of two separate right now, but they are, just like you said, intermingled. They do a lot of stuff together, a lot of the points and how they derive their different areas. But, the clubs, the USA clubs are just a whole lot different. They're much more local than what a regional would be. So it basically is kind of a showcase of your local clubs like we've seen grow up all over this country. Personally, I got First Coast Cornhole down here in Florida. And then just down the way, they got East Coast Beach Baggers. And then over there, they've got all those different, they got Banff Cornhole, you know what I mean? So basically you can build a club for to make your USA team, and you could go up and play in these tournaments and hope to get qualified for the bigger ones and the, bigger tournaments as you go. So it's pretty awesome. Kevin Warner, right?
Warner.
Kevin Warner. That's I believe he's the guy who's he's spearheading the whole thing. So we can get him on as a guest if you need to, Mike, at some point.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to him and see how USA Cornhole is operated, and I know they're not at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs, but
he actually is at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs. That's where he lives.
Okay, I stand corrected. See, I'm just going to shut up. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
But he's been involved with the Olympics.
He has experience. Yeah.
He's been involved with the Olympics for quite a long time, which actually gives us an advantage, with him coming over to the cornhole world. It's pretty cool to have him, kind of, like you say, spearheading it. And I think one of the links between the two, the ACL and USA Cornhole, they both share the same vision, that hopefully this thing will get into the Olympics, and it should. We have all the right ingredients. This sport is so, it has so many positives. And some of the biggest positives is like the motto with, the ACL. Anyone can play, anyone can win. And it's crazy to how true that is. You really don't have to be a superb athlete to be able to perform with this sport. And it's so accessible. We don't have to have a gymnasium, or we don't have to have a huge arena to be able to play this sport. Of course, now we're getting at the points where we're having to have those types of venues because of how popular sports got, with different fans and, all of that, the things that come along with it, which is awesome. But for your average everyday player, they set a set of boards in the front yard or in the drive, and here you go. You go to playing. It's super accessible. It's very affordable, and it's part of what's driven this thing to the point where it's at. That people are falling in love with the sport.
It's come from the point where back in the ACO days of the King of Cornhole, the winner would get paid like a big check and second place would get nothing. They would get a thanks for being here handshake. That was Matt God that told us that, right? That he was playing James Baldwin, I believe, right? And Matt brought that story up. And now you've got Eric Davis, 18 years old, won, 50 grand in 2 weeks playing cornhole. The game has really changed. Monetary, it's great for the players, man, especially the ones at that level that can make that kind of money. I'm at players signing contracts with bag vendors, and I never thought it would reach this. But, I mean, hey, I'm happy to be wrong and see that it's taken off the way it has.
Yeah, if you think it was big this last year, wait till you see what happens this year, because there's some these purses are growing. That's all I can say.
Yeah. And even the announced purse for this season, double from last season. We went from a guaranteed $500,000 last season. This year, the ACO is $1 million purse. I mean, that's, I mean, who would have thought? I mean, it's crazy. And the players are starting to be recognized for their skills, and it's really cool just to see all of those things happen. And to be able to be a part of it as well is really, really awesome.
You're there. You're in the trenches, man. You've been there since like almost day one with the ACL, and I remember playing with you, and we played in a state tournament together. I don't know if you remember that one. You still got your triangle cornhole jersey?
Look, I think I've got every jersey that I've ever owned, and I, with the exception of a couple, and I'll have you have different ones that. And again, very fortunate for this that people would want a jersey of yours or signed. And I have done a few of those, but I tell a lot of people that I try to hang on to most of my stuff for my grandkids. Hopefully one day that they'll look at that thing and say, hey, that was my granddad there. He did something pretty cool.
Cornhole Hall of Famer Frank Modlin.
Come on, Frank. Hey, pick up your camera, take us to your trophy room, and let us see all your framed jerseys and all your trophies. We know you got to put up in there somewhere. You got a man cave.
I tell you, I wish I was like that. I was at a place like that today, the Rock Center, and all the cornhole players out there, they know where I'm talking about. We lost a legend here last week, Alan Rockwell, Rocky, my buddy. And, he's got a place called there at his home called the Rock Center. And he has done such an amazing job of keeping up, like documenting everything that he ever played in. Like he's got pictures and posters and trophies and big checks and, I mean, you name it. It's splattered all on this wall of this Rock Center. And today, seeing all the players, walk through and just kind of is walking down like memory lane. It is just so awesome. I wish I was more like that. That I kept up with things as much as what he did. But he did an awesome job at it for sure. And if anybody ever does get the opportunity to go there, don't turn it down. It's really cool because you can almost see the sport evolve within the building walls.
Yeah. I told this story on the last podcast, but like Rocky was one of the first players from out of state that I played in a big tournament. and he was a pro at the time. And this was in Charlotte. It was right outside Charlotte at Carowinds. Okay, and I played Rocky down to the end, man. I was up. I thought I was going to beat him, and he came back and whooped me. And after the game, in typical Rocky fashion, he couldn't. He was like, "Hey, man, you played great, and just keep throwing." He gave me all the accolades, bro. It was just a class act, and he was like, "Hey, you actually had me nervous," because I thought I was going to beat him, but
that was a huge compliment right there.
What was that?
That was a huge compliment right there, that you had him nervous.
Oh yeah, man. And he had that way of talking too. It was like really fast, but it was he had a personality about him that a lot of people are going to miss. Rest in peace, Rocky.
Yeah, he's been a big staple in the sport for a long time, and especially he's done a tremendous amount for the sport throughout the country, but for the Virginia area and the surrounding area, I mean, cornhole wouldn't be what it is had it not been for Rocky. He has absolutely been phenomenal in growing the sport, and doing it with such great character. He's just a good person. He's a good Christian. He's been a role model for me for a number of years now, and an inspiration for sure. But he's definitely going to truly be missed.
He started off back in the day as a ACO certified official before he went ACL, and then played a big part with the ACL forming up. Was he the founder of Coastal Baggers, or was he just like a member?
I don't know if he was the founder, but definitely an instrumental part, I would say, for sure. I know Elvis Orr and, some of those guys were all OGs of the Coastal Baggers, and going back to Greg Beta. But Rocky has been a part of, if it involved cornhole in the Virginia area, Rocky was a part of it. If it was something positive, for sure. He's got this group called the Rocky Renegades, and all of those guys were there at the services today. And we were fortunate that we were able to wear our jerseys and stuff, and all the Rocky Renegades had their jerseys. Just cool scene, man, for sure, and a great tribute for Rocky. I know he was watching down for sure. It was kind of weird. During the services, they had warned us that they were having some power outages in the area, so and they were running off of generator power at the funeral home there. And during this particular part of the service, they had asked for different ones to speak, and I wish I could have been strong enough to do it, but I couldn't have made it through 3 or 4 words without breaking down. But some of the guys that got up and spoke, and this one particular player, they call him Watermelon.
Oh man, I love Watermelon.
If you've never met him, he is such a cool cat, man. Watermelon's he's just a great guy to be around, hang around. But he was talking about Rocky, and one of the things he said was a quote that Rocky would say a lot, and it's "Oh Lordy." Rocky would say that a lot, "Oh Lordy," and when he said, excuse me, when he said "Oh Lordy," the lights blinked, and it was just like unreal.
Wow.
The whole crowd just went, like, oh my God. It was crazy.
Like Rocky is definitely in the house.
It was just like Rocky was speaking to us, for sure.
Oh wow,
that's awesome. And Watermelon sounds a little bit like Rocky too. So when he said it, it probably sounded a little bit like him.
Oh yeah, oh absolutely.
and then the lights flicker. Let's go, Rock.
It was just there wasn't a soul in there that didn't have goosebumps, for sure.
Oh, I can imagine.
Darn right. I guarantee I got them. What do you mean I got them?
I mean, if I look at my arms right now, they're kind of, my hair's standing up. I think we're going to end the show on that note right there, man. That's a good way to
positive. Let's do that.
Yeah, rest in peace, Rocky. Hey, look, Frank, I know today was a tough day for you, so I do want to thank you for coming on the show and being a part of it. This is definitely going to be – this is going to be 2 episodes, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's going to be a 2-episoder. Thanks again.
I appreciate you guys having me on, man, for sure. And I'm just like you. Rest in peace, Rocky, for sure. A lot of love out there for Miss Kathy, and his family that he leaves behind here. Hopefully, all of us will be reunited one day. But for now, we'll just remember him in our prayers and remember the family.
And I do know, I think Jeff Reynolds is doing a special tribute bag. I did order a set.
I think there's 10 of us actually.
Rob was an instrumental part of that. It's multiple companies that are participating in that.
Okay.
And it's 10 companies. Is that right, Rob?
That's how we started. It was 10 companies, but I think a lot of people saw the opportunity and said, "Gosh, I got to be part of this too," because the family needs us. So the cornhole family needs, we just need to get together and do the right thing. Many of us are doing 100 sets of bags each, and we're selling them for $100. And every bit of the net proceeds are all going to the Rockwell family. So,
I bought my set of Reynolds Typhoons off of it today because it's the only thing I saw on Facebook before Facebook crashed. So we'll put the information up here, and all the participating bag vendors will put their information up so you can get your set, and all the money is going, like Rob said, 100% to the family of Alan Rockwell. And, that's it. Check out Frank Modlin. Go to his Instagram. You got at FM_air21. And you can check him out at frankmodlinaclpro.com. Frank, good luck this season, man. I hope to see you on the board sometime.
Thank you. Good luck to you guys as well, for sure. Appreciate you having me.
Rob, you be good over there in Florida, brother. We'll see you next episode, man.
All right, Mike. See you later.
All right. Peace. Y'all have a good day.
Ciao, guys. Take care.
Cause we all just wanna be cornhole stars saying keep ourselves and driving beat up cars. The crowd gets crazy and the beers ain't cheap. We get drunk all day so we just don't eat. And we hang out at the local bar, throwing bags in the hole like we